What's up, internet? Welcome to PHPRad Front-End Development. This video is brought to you by Tuzik Official and sponsored by The Best Blessing. We have been looking at how to make a responsive and dynamic dashboard. Previously, we were able to make our dashboard layout. In this video, we are going to focus on how to make our dashboard side navigation bar. I'm so excited, and without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing we want to do is to open our PHPRad Studio, and this is actually the project we made the last time, but the difference is that I've added some icon on top here, and to do that is super easy. Just locate your nav item and come over here and pick the icon you want. I can type something like home, and I'll pick this home and set it as my icon. Come over here. So that's what I did for the entire nav items, and we landed to something that looks like this. But another thing I want you to do is to switch your nav style from fixed top or any style you have chosen. I want you to switch it to static top, and once you have done it, hit OK, and let's start kicking something. So the first thing again step we need to take is to locate our app header. To locate that, just come over to this app, locate the views, locate the partial. Then inside the partial, locate, you will see the app header. Then you open it, and you'll be welcome with the PHP default code. Okay, you may think that we are coming to delete this code, and you may not be happy because you don't want us to delete it. No, we won't actually delete it, but we are going to hide it. To hide that, we will set the display to be none, and by that, Bootstrap will do the rest for us. So let's preview it, and I will show you that yes, you have to hit yes. Let's preview it, and I'll show that the content is gone. Alright, as you can see, our navbar is off. Let's start making something very different or something very tangible. Class, at this point, I'll talk less and do the coding. Container, fluid. So this is going to be our side nav, and inside this guy I've added the header. This is going to be on top of our side nav, and this is where we will house our toggler and a lot of things about our side nav. Most of the time we house the toggler here, but and down here we are going to house the side nav content. So you can put your side nav content here. Alright, so we will all do that. You don't have to worry yourself about it. Having said about the side nav, let's move down and put our entire web application and house it on one class so that we can control it even without messing with the back side of PHPRad. Right, so whenever you type this thing, just bear in mind that you are almost done. So I want you to look at this 1, 2, 3 ending tags. Just highlight them and delete them. You may think that we are making a mistake. We are not actually making a mistake. We know what we are doing. So type this code and make it P0, and you can call it my content so that you can you can call it as a class wherever you want and style it again. So inside this my content, well, let's at this point let's preview it and see what we have done. Let's preview and see what we have done, where we have gotten to. The side nav will definitely come over here with this background of warning and this icon we gave it, and we said test center, and the icon color is white. So remember that is an automatically, the colon is an auto, therefore the colon width, the width of the colon won't just be specific, but it will choose a width that will suit the content. As you can see, the content is small, is not lengthy, so it is choosing this width size for it. So moving on to the next thing we want to do, we want to put our nav menu inside our nav side nav content. So to do that is super easy. Just come over to this code we have muted, not actually muted, that we have hidden from displaying. Just come over there and look at this HTML render menu. Highlight everything about this guy from here, and you just copy it and move up. Inside here we have our content pasted there. Remove this merging RI auto and type ML3. All right, once you do that, I want you to also come on top here, because our sidebar background is dark, we want to say navbar dark. With this, is going to automatically give the content or the nav item a light color, so the text will be light, else it's going to give it a blue text. So you can see we got what we want the way we want it to be. Okay, and they are actually working. All of them is working. But notice something, it should start from top to bottom. We don't want to have it cutting halfway. Okay, we don't want to have it cutting halfway. To save ourselves from that mess, what we can do is to handle it with CSS. Okay, so you may think that, oh, it's time for CSS, but before I call it a time for CSS, let's settle with these guys on top. There should be another card on top, just like the way we have over here. There is a kind of role on top here, and inside this row we houses our brand and some option stuff there. So let's quickly do that. Okay, here I will close my mouth so that I can type faster. So having done that, we can, at this point, we can just start putting the content. Remember we said div flex justify content between. So obviously there should be content here. So this is where our content will come to. And the first content we want to have is the brand. So this is the brand. And we just copy it from here and move up and locate something and paste it here. Okay. So this brand, we want the color to be dark or muted if possible. Okay, I would prefer to have it muted. I'll say test muted bold. All right, so after that, I would like to have our image height. We want the height to be 30 pixels. Again, we want this guy to be uppercase words, and is actually a function. Then inside this function we have to close it because we have opened a function, uppercase words, and we preview it and you will notice what I'm talking about. So this is it, this is the content, and when we click on it, it links us to this guy home. But actually that's not what I want. I'll show you the reason why I don't want that. but let's just keep going. Another content we want to have here is the option keys, and these option keys PHPRad put them in UL form. So this is the option key I'm talking about. You can just collapse it so that you can be able to copy it easily, copy, or you can cut it, move up here, and then move down and paste it. Over this guy, this is this a class. We want it to test dark, and again we want to locate this drop down. No, we want to locate this li nav item drop down. We want to remove it from drop down and we want to say drop left. After doing that, we want to locate our drop down menu. We want the border to be 0, and we want the shadow to be LG, I mean shadow large. And we locate our drop down toggle, which is inside this A. Look at the class, the drop down toggle is here. We want to remove it. So why do I remove it? I will tell you as we progress. So that's it. We have our drop down, and when we click on it, as you can see, we have this large shadow at the back of it, and there's no border around it. So the next thing we want to do is to style our IMG here. We want this IMG to be rounded. By default, PHPRad gives us a 4-cornered IMG. We are not going to remove it, but we are going to add something to it. We are going to say rounded, and this rounded we will say circle. Then we can add shadow SM if you like, and at this point you can preview it. As you can see, oh, it's not rounded. Why isn't it rounded? Maybe we didn't type something right. IMG rounded circle. So it's now circle and still works, that's its job. Alright. I think we are done with the top side of this guy. The next thing we may like to handle now is this guy. We want it to be a more bit responsive than ever, but before we start that, I want us to just fix everything we have here. This guy and this guy should be in the same height, and the only way or the best way to do that is to give two of them the same height value. So let's give them a height. Remember, this is a nav header with BG warning, and we can come over here and say style height of 60 pixels, and we locate this guy too. We locate this guy and we say style height of 60 pixels. Alright, so let's preview it and see if we have both of them of the same height. As you can see, we are having that, and that is exactly what we want. Before we dive into CSS and JavaScript, there is something I want us to fix. When you look over here on the top nav, you will notice that it's a bit hard to differentiate the background of this and the background of that, because at the border there is nothing to differentiate that, or there is nothing to enhance the contrast. It was actually there before, but after doing the height of 60 and this guy, we lost that. And the reason why we lost that is because we style the parent div class, or that we style the parent div instead of the child itself. So I'm going to copy this style and I'm pasting it over here. Alright, so we move upwards, and before we continue that, I want us to just highlight this guy over here where we have our print home, site logo, and echo site name. I want us to group it, put it in a span so that it will be a kind of grouped for us. Okay, and once we have done that, then we are able to go. There's another thing I want us to put there. We can add another span, or we can add an anchor tag class and PR to be 3. Then inside this anchor tag we can say an icon menu. and we call this anchor tag a class. We want it to be my menu label toggler. The name is a bit long, so I will prefer to remove my and make it menu label. It's actually menu label toggler. All right, so this is something we need before we proceed to the next level. As you can see, you have noticed that border button, and you have noticed this menu icon we just added, and also the same menu icon is here. So I think it's not that nice to have a two menu icon by the side. So what we can do is to change the first menu icon. So we are going to give it I would prefer to give it arrow, so I will call it arrow right, and this arrow will point right. So that's what we have. So having done this, let's start geeking some CSS and JavaScript code. But first of all, let's start with CSS. So we'll call a style, and inside this style, we'll first of all create a class called bg yellow. Then inside this bg yellow, we want the background to be this color. I've copied it from, okay, we want the color to be this, and again we move to our navbar and in the navbar we want to locate a tag with I, and we want the color of this to be the same color we have here, and we want the margin right to be 5 pixels. At this point, we would like to view what we have done. Alright, so it's exactly like this, but we want this background, which is warning or kind of orange color, we want it to bear the same color we give our icons. So to do that, remember that we have given a background yellow and we gave it the same color here. So we can remove this bg warning and say bg yellow, just like this class we have on top here, and we preview that. Alright, as you can see, things is now summing up. Alright, so we like to do something with this guy. First of all, I would like to take them off on a smaller media. To take them off by default, we want to put them, we want to say, can simply copy this guy, and we say enter V, and we can say display to be none, but it isn't specific. What navbar we are actually styling menu label, okay, and we preview it. So we're expecting this guy to go away. As you can see, they are completely off. Now it looks like we are almost done with our CSS, but we aren't done yet. We want it to be responsive. Let me show you what I mean by responsive. Let's refresh this thing. On a smaller screen like this, we want this guy to disappear, and on a bigger screen like as big as this, we want this guy to disappear and this one to show. Alright, to get that thing, we are going to make use of media query. To query the media, we use at media. So this is actually the mother code, and inside this you can type whatever you want to do. We want them to be 2 because one for the maximum and one for the minimum. Okay, so this is going to be the maximum. Whenever we are talking about the maximum, we are actually referring to the small screen, and whenever we are talking about the minimum, we are talking about the maximum screen, or we are talking about the bigger screen. It's kind of tricky, but when you try to read into it, you will understand that it's not actually tricky at all. So at the maximum screen, therefore, if at small screen starting from 768 pixels, we want this icon side nav to, we want my side nav, we want it to the display, we want the display to be none. This my sidebar nav is actually a class, and again we want menu label toggler, we want at minimum screen, we want the display to be none, and okay, so this is going to be the mean width of the same mean width 76868 pixels. Alright, so let's display it, let's view it and see what we get. We're expecting this guy to hide away. As you can see, it's off, and this guy is showing. It seems like both of them are having the same class, and that isn't the gold standard. I made a mistake, so we are going to take this guy off from this class and we'll preview it again. Alright, so this one stands alone. So let's see if we are going to have the display on a, we are still seeing it, what is going on. Okay, just notice something. Look at the side here and you will notice that it's actually working. So on a bigger screen it's off, on a smaller screen it's in bigger screen it's off, on a small screen it's in. So we want to also handle this guy, but it seems like it's not working. So let's find why it isn't working. We said my side nav, so it should be my side nav like this, and we preview it. So we preview that, and we are getting this, and that is close to perfect. So at this point we would like to switch to our JavaScript, but before we switch to JavaScript, you may like to copy your style script like this. Ctrl Z, you may like to copy your scripts like this. You may like to copy them X, and you may like to paste them to your custom CSS. And once you paste them there, I'll prefer you to label it. I'll call this dashboard side nav, and we'll paste it here. Let's check if our code is still working. Since we are not seeing this guy and these colors are there, it's obvious that it is working. So we'll move to the next thing, which is the JavaScript. So over here, the JavaScript, we want to call something. We want to call my side nav toggler, and whenever we click this my side nav toggler, that is on click, we want it to perform these functions. So we open the set of functions we want it to perform. The number one thing is we want it to locate this guy, the side nav. We want it to locate, it's actually my side nav. We want it to locate my side nav, and we want to toggle it. It's as simple as that, and we want it to be fast, okay, so that we won't get a slow work or junk unfinished work. So after that, the second thing we may like to do is well, for now let's preview it and see what we get. Okay, but we have to make sure if we have labeled this guy my side nav toggler. So this is the icon, and we called it menu label toggler, which is wrong. It should be my side nav toggler. Okay, but we can X this guy and say my side nav toggler. So this my side nav toggler, oh my god, icon arrow v menu label toggler, and okay, we'll come over here and replace menu label toggler. We replace it with my side nav toggler. But you don't have to worry yourself much about this, because I will definitely give the code out. I will share the code so that you can try it on your own. As you can see, when we click on it, it's actually working the way we want it to work. But what about this guy? Can it be a way that when we click on this, it's going to toggle all the label that we actually hide? Of course, we can do that. Remember that this guy has a name of menu label toggler. So we are going to call this class on our JavaScript. The snippet will be exactly as same, something like this, which will have an event and listen for on-click event. So we say menu label toggler is going to be menu label toggler. Then this menu label toggler on click, we want it to toggle navbar, nav, then dot menu label. Okay, we want to toggle it as well, and we preview it and see what we get. So when we click this guy, it is working perfectly. So at this point, I would like to say thank you guys so much for being part of this development. You may be wondering, how come I have this? This is actually the thief icon or logo icon being provided by PHPRad. It's not the original one, but I've changed mine. So you can come over to your published settings over here, published, look at the project fav icon and project logo. So I'll start from the fav icon. I will use this. You can decide to use something else. So let me use this thing and come over to this guy again, and I will use the same thing so that it's going to match, and we preview them. So when we preview it, as you can see, it have changed. So I will prefer to go back to what I was using before, or something more neat and simpler. So the only thing neat and simpler I see is still this guy, and I'll still select the guy again because I like the logo, and we'll publish it, and we can save our project from now. Okay, refresh it. Okay guys, thank you for being part of this development. I'm so proud to have you up till this point. In our next class, or in our next tutorial on dashboard, responsive dashboard, we are going to look at how to put some content inside our dashboard, like some counters here, and also how to mess around with one or two things if there is a need for that. So thank you so much, and I'll catch you in the next one.